Welcome back to the Pack Fresh podcast, where we talk about all things Pokemon TCG and give you a little peek behind the curtain of what it's like to be a seller in this crazy hobby. Today, we are going to be answering the question, are streams replacing the modern card shop, or are they already the modern card shop? I am a streamer. Cardboard owns a shop, but also does streaming. So I think this should be a really interesting conversation. It's a cool topic. And as things are ever changing, it's kind of interesting.
We'll start out going over the differences and getting started and go through day to day and some of the struggles that each side is going to have.
Yeah.
So starting up, store versus streamer. We started our shop back in August of 2021. You have a building, and then inside we had to paint, new flooring, shelving, and that was before computers, all these startup costs just to make an inviting space. Yeah,
just to have something. That's not even considering the product.
Just for people to be able to walk into an inviting space. We get all that done. It took 2 months to go through all the construction and reorganizing. And this is before we first opened. We didn't build out any streaming spaces at all, so it was just store front area at first.
Right.
We had 2 rooms that we cleaned out and painted that were going to become stream rooms, but in the beginning it was just the store itself. Startup costs just on that, I'm sure we were between 15 to 20,000 just on remodeling the inside of the store. And then obviously we'll get into inventory next, but compare that to a streamer. Obviously you've been streaming a while, so you didn't have as many costs on the startup, but kind of run us through.
I think there's levels to it. Obviously, being a streamer has a much lower barrier of entry, right? Like, you can literally just have a cell phone and you're good. You can stream off of a cell phone. There's some giant streamers out there who just
use
the
iPhone.
Phone. You're not using any nice cameras, just simply an iPhone. And that's about as low as a barrier of entry costs because most people own some sort of smartphone. For me, it was a little different. I was streaming on Twitch before. I've been in content creation for a long time, so I had nicer cameras. I started off just a little webcam and built over the years. So for me, it was very easy to start streaming and have a very high quality show, but that's not the most important thing. So the barrier of entry as a streamer is almost zero. That's the cost to start is almost zero, which is nice. It's very cool because you can test the water if you want.
Right. You can just jump in and no upfront costs other than your cell phone bill and some inventory to get you started. And there's quite a few streamers that are very successful streaming off of phones.
Yeah.
You get a little higher production quality if you use cameras and OBS on a computer, then you're including a lot more technology where things can go wrong.
Right.
A streamer gets their phone or their setup, camera, some light, what have you. Store, we got the inside of the store ready. Now it comes time for the fun part. You got to have something to sell. When we opened up the store, we signed up with 3 distributors. Distributors don't want streamers. You have to own a brick and mortar shop as well, so they'll turn down streamers in most cases unless you're very popular or know somebody in that space that can get you in.
So what is that process like? Because I think that's something I don't really even know myself all that well. I don't have much experience with it. I think that could be something that people listening might be interested in. What is that process like, getting a distributor, and what does that really mean?
Honestly, it doesn't mean much, because if you have a store, you can essentially go on their website, fill out their application, turn in all their paperwork, and they open up an account for you. And then you think to yourself, oh, I did it. We have it. We're ready to go. And then you finally get a rep. Say this whole process takes 2 to 3 weeks. You get your rep. The rep calls. You're like, I need this and this. And they're like, no, actually, you can order 2 of these. And you're like, thank you. This is exactly going to last me like half an hour once my store opens. So our first order with our main distributor now, we were able to order $1,200 in product. It was like a case of sports. I believe it was college football blasters, 2 other miscellaneous things, some little sports repack they sold at the time, and then 1 case of Vivid Voltage booster boxes. That was the only Pokemon I could get. So I see pictures of the first day we opened. We also had some sealed product stored up Without that, it would have just been those three things on the shelf. We were able to take the stuff that we had, add that in, and the shelves still weren't full, but we spread it out. It looked pretty nice. And then the first week we were open, we sold everything on our shelves.
Wow.
And I was like,
Now what?
now what? Yeah. And I called the distributor. They still have nothing for us. So what do you do? Then I had to turn to alternative means, the similar boat that we're in now, where you have to find somebody who has it and buy it from them. So I was buying random ETB lots and booster box lots from people on Facebook and Instagram.
So aside from the stuff you got from distro, the stuff that you said you had kind of stored away, is that just stuff you'd been collecting yourself, or had you known you were thinking about starting a shop? Was there any preparation there, or is it just you had that so you were like, I might as well sell this?
About a year before we opened, I had been streaming online. We did like some Facebook lives where we would run games or pull box. And when we did that, we would have mostly sports. We would take like blasters, mega boxes, and it was a lot of singles that we streamed.
Oh.
Then we started seeing some Pokemon at the stores. Then we were able to grab, we'd get a couple sports blasters. They got some Champions Path and Hidden Fates and sets right around that era.
Okay.
So we'd buy a few ETBs when we bought some of the blasters, and then we just kept them all sealed. We didn't open any of it at the time. We did eventually start opening some. The singles for Pokemon were crazy back then. Regular V cards in a PSA 10 were selling for $60 to $80.
Wow.
Right now it's like a $10 card or $15 card for
Right.
reference. Back then, opened up a ton of stuff. We had a bunch sealed as well. We sent probably 150 cards in to get graded. PSA was so backed up because the market had just boomed out of control. Took us over 2 years to get our cards back from PSA. And of course, when we did, all of the cards were worth almost less than the grading fee. Because when we
Right.
sent it in, it was booming. Obviously, by 2023, it had settled down quite a bit.
Mhm.
So we were stuck with a lot of dead inventory. We've moved through quite a bit of that now. Just a giant loss. You get into this and you don't account for, there's a lot that you'll buy that if you can't move it within a certain amount of weeks after release, it's going to be worth less than what you paid for it,
Right.
which is unfortunate. What about you? When you got started,
Mhm.
what did you do for your initial inventory?
I had negative dollars to my name. I was ripping a lot of packs. I was having a lot of fun, probably too much fun with Pokemon. I had a lot of singles. I didn't have anything crazy, nothing like unbelievable, like gold stars or vintage or anything like that. It was all just modern cards and like some decent hits, but no Moonbreon, anything like that.
Yeah.
So I had a bunch of singles and I was looking at them like, I don't need all of these. So I just thought to myself, and I made just some lines in the sand that's, I'm going to collect this character and focus on those, and then maybe a master set or two. Anything that didn't fall in those, I put in a pile, and that was my inventory to start. I had like a couple of packs here and there that I got at Target.
Yeah.
And at the time, it wasn't like now where there's nothing available on the shelf and you're buying something at Target, you're selling it for 3-4 times the amount. It was $1 more.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't anything crazy. The scalper is like the hot word these days, but it wasn't anything like that. So I remember by my third stream, I had 6 packs, 6 booster packs to the side. The rest, I was just dollar starting cards and just going through piles of cards and like, hey, you don't want this? And I was like barely comping stuff. It was just like, I was just throwing stuff to the wind and see what happened. And then I dollar star a couple of packs. You know, they went for what they go for, but I had so much fun with the packs. My first few streams were pretty good. And then after that, things started to cool down a little bit in terms of like the singles, because all of like my community that had come over from Twitch that had bought the singles they wanted, and I wasn't really getting all that many more. So I'd go to a local shop, local shows, and I started just trading my singles in for sealed product. So I got a bunch of packs. And at the time, Pokemon was not as crazy. So local stores really wanted the singles. The sealed product wasn't moving all that crazy for them. So it worked out great. They gave me a good rate in the trade, and they were willing to work with me on the stuff that wasn't really moving for them. That was a big help for me. That was really my first 2 months was just that very low start cost, but no distro. I haven't even tried. I've talked to many people, and everybody's, yeah, you're not going to get distribution if you're a streamer.
Even me having established, we have 4 main distributors now. I signed up with a 5th, and I got an account, and I'm like, okay, what can I order? And they're like, we have nothing. And I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like,
Yeah.
even
Well,
for
yeah,
an
nothing.
established store,
Now
they
there's
just
nothing.
and it's okay. So how do we build up? Because how, if anyone doesn't know how a distributor works, when a product comes out, the amount you get of that product is based off of your past sales for the last 6 months, year, 2 years. All the distributors run that formula different. When Prismatic came out, our main distributor, every $400 in spend in the Pokemon category that you had with them got you 1 ETB. So if you only spend 20,000, you're not getting all that many ETBs for a store to be able to supply.
And that's super tough too, because it takes a long time to build up that allocation. Because it's like, if you're saying X amount means 1 ETB, but like you said earlier, it's I could only get 1 case.
Yeah, what
That's
can I order?
That doesn't add up very much.
I could call all 4 distributors tomorrow and say, I want to buy everything Pokemon that I can. 2 of the distributors limit every store to a couple items a week where they can buy maybe 1, 2 of that item per week.
Mm-hmm.
The other distributors would just say, we have nothing. So if you wanted to max spend tomorrow, say you had $100,000 to spend, you could spend $600.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
It's tough. It's tough for everybody. It's tough for the stores. It's even harder for streamers since they can't get signed up for the distributors.
It's interesting because the issue compounds. Right now, you can't get anything at allocate cost. Nobody can. 5 big people or accounts that are just like hogging all of the inventory. There's just nothing there. Now, where I would be going to get stock is at shows. That stuff, the people I'm buying from used to be people who have distribution, and they'd be selling it off, and then I'd be able to work with them at a better price because they got allocated cost and they can sell it to me just lower, and they're still making good profit. But now they're getting it the same way I'm getting it, which is the same way you're getting it, and everybody just needs like the smallest sliver of the pie because there's just not that much to go around right now.
And that's really that you say that they had their profit margin. A lot of times stores or this last or most latest big boom, they had so much product just sitting on shelves. Even if they took a small loss or broke even on it, they'd let it go to somebody like yourself that wanted to stream the packs and have that end customer base because it was just sitting there, and you could get new capital and buy something at the time is going to move better.
Right.
So that was the big thing. Everyone's, oh, why is Pokemon not printing enough? Prismatic, say normally 1,000 stores order. When Prismatic was coming out, 4,000 stores ordered, and they don't have the spend. But then the distributors like, oh, let's give them all 1 box. So these 3,000 stores that don't normally order take 1 box each. Now they just took up 300 cases, and then whatever's left goes to the 1,000 customers.
Yeah, it just got spread so thin.
And it's not that they're not printing enough. They're definitely printing a ton of product. It's just that the depth of the need for product has gotten a lot larger than it was in previous releases. And obviously, Pokemon is cyclical like this. Goes up, goes down. We would probably be on a little bit of a roller coaster here. Obviously, you're seeing a little bit of a lull with Journey because it's right after Prismatic. The next set, Destined Rivals, is going to be huge, and there's only so much to go around. So along with that, a lot of the Pokemon market is dictated by crypto and the market and crypto have both been down. When that goes down, a lot of the crypto guys kind of hold tight through the dip and wait until it comes back up. If that happens around the time of Destined Rivals, you'll definitely see that, and you'll see an uptick again in the market. So we got our setups.
Yep.
Store versus streamer. We got our product in there. Now we got to open up for business. Card shop, you have set hours. You have to be there open to close. Doesn't matter how slow it is, doesn't matter what's going on. You're open to 6, noon to 8, whatever the hours are. Then you have to basically manage everything that you need to do during the day, whether you have employees in the store or thing to do and customers come in the store all day. You really have to just multitask because you have a certain amount of tasks that need to get done in a day, but some days we'll open and it'll just be packed all day long. And it's we have 50 orders we need to ship and send out by 5. We've been working with customers all day, and you run into days like that. Obviously, it's a great problem to have, but you still got to figure it out how you're going to run that, how you're going to make that work.
Right.
From a store standpoint, you're always open those posted hours. You have many things to do in a day, and sometimes there's just not enough time. Then on the flip side of that, it could be completely slow. There's nothing to do. It's always nice to be able to get a little bit of time like that as well to be able to catch up on things.
Yeah. When you have employees, did you have employees when you started?
I did.
Yeah.
We only had one.
Okay.
One or
Would you say that's the norm? Are most people at least having an employee?
I don't think so. We obviously had larger aspirations to grow fast.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the smaller card stores that we work with, a lot of them are still like even if they've been open a few years, it's just the owner. They work all the posted hours. They run everything themselves. Some of them even have other jobs. I know of a couple small stores that we work
true,
with, and
actually.
they work full time during the day, and then Wednesday through Sunday they open their card shop for 4 hours a night.
Yeah, actually, there's a guy I go to who works all week, and then on the weekend he has his card shop, which it's interesting. Obviously, on my side of things, like I don't have employees. I'm doing everything, all the production, everything, the sourcing, shipping. That's all done by me. But what you just said is interesting. You had bigger aspirations to scale, whereas people streaming, I think there's probably some people who go into it with the idea where I'm going to make a ton of money. Whereas there's others like myself, I didn't start this with the idea of this was going to be my full-time job. I really didn't think that was going to happen. I was loving what I was doing with content, and this kind of just took me by surprise really once I started doing it. But I think there's like some streamers that definitely have a team because it does get overwhelming.
I would say on the streaming side, the most common employee would be the shipping.
Yeah.
And when you first start at a store, a smaller store, you're going to run it by yourself. Usually cash is always the issue. You don't have enough money to hire an employee. Same with when you're streaming, you're just bootstrapped. Got to do everything yourself. You wear all the hats. You're shipping, you're sorting, you're packaging, bringing to the post office, going to buy the inventory, bringing it back. Then you run the shows. Same with the store. You got to order everything, bring it in, check it in, sell it to the customers, fulfill the online orders, all that as well. I mean, it's the same thing except for with streaming. If it's slow, you can end the stream for the day, make it a little bit shorter, or if you got something to do, you can push the stream back. As if you got people waiting outside of the store, it would be the same thing. If you push the stream back, people get in the stream, say you were going to start at 1 and you don't show up till 1:10 and they've been sitting in there for 10 minutes. It's the same concept.
Yeah, and people listening are probably laughing because that happens a lot with me. I'm just trying to get so much done in the morning before I go live, because once I go live, I really don't know how long it's going to go for. Like I have a general cutoff time because I got to make dinner before I ship for the night and get everything ready for the next day. So I have 3 or 4 hours in the morning. I got to either finish shipping, get to the post office, get to the bank, run errands, get some supplies, whatever it is that I need to get finished, and then let's look at the clock and say, oh, I need to eat something I haven't eaten yet, and I'm live in 23 minutes. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I got it all locked up. And it's easy to have just too much to do in a certain amount of time. And of course, some of the stuff you got to cut it short and pick and choose. And you don't really want to push the stream back, but
no,
you have to sometimes. Whereas if we're 10 minutes late, if someone's waiting outside for 10 minutes and we show up and then let them in, it'll more than likely result in a 1-star Google review for us.
What's nice, like for streaming, is like I can put a note in the chat and people see it. And I'm just like, yo, I'm running super late. I'll
Right.
be 20 minutes, or I'll post up in the Discord and be like, hey guys, sorry, I'm crazy day. But like for you, it's like you can put a note on the door, I guess, but you'd have to go
You'd have to
to
be
the
there to
store.
do it.
So
Yeah.
it's if you haven't been able to get to the shop yet, GG's, right?
Yeah.
Somebody comes to the store and they're like, oh, these guys must be out of business.
Exactly. And the most we close the store on a normal day is if somebody's not here to backfill while we bring stuff to the post office. Luckily, we're only 2 blocks from the post office,
Uh-huh.
so it only takes 2 to 5 minutes to go drop the stuff off on the counter there. You know,
Right.
randomly might hit a spot in the day where we just had to run the stuff to get it out for everybody. Typical day, somebody opens up the shop, you got customers. We have to ship the stream stuff from the night before. We have to ship our online orders from the night before and during the day. Anything usually until 3 p.m. If you order from any of our shops up until 3 p.m. on the same day, we try to ship it out that day before 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
We try to keep all of our shipping pretty fast. And on top of that, you have all the regular stuff like inventory came in. We got to check all this in, put it all away. We got to get it all put in the system. And so now at this point, like I have people that do obviously different tasks. We have 7 employees right now that help out. It also just never seems like enough. You can always use more help. There's just always so much to do.
Right. And me knowing you, like there's always somebody calling you too.
Yeah,
So
it's just it too.
you can't you if you start doing something, you're getting pulled away.
It's a lot of hats. All the people do a lot and they do a great job, but they're going to have questions throughout the day and stuff that has to get okayed through me. They're calling to ask about the orders for the week, and that's just part of being a business owner. You're just going to always have stuff that gets in the way. And then part of the difference, I would say, in like that day to day for you, you're running behind. It's your schedule. You do what you want. Me, I'm worried about the employees. Did they show up today? For the most
Right.
part, I have a very reliable team. I'm not worried about that. But just in general, you have that question. Is this going to go right? Is that going to go right? You have to worry when you involve more parts, moving parts into something, you have to worry about the ups and downs of that because nothing's going to run like a well-oiled machine. There's always going to be some kind of hiccup. You got to worry about employee theft. You got to worry about how you track your inventory and make sure you can keep an eye on it, especially when you're moving a ton of product. You have to have a very effective way to do that. I think that's going to be one thing that's probably quite different between streaming and a card shop. Say we order product from a distributor, it comes in, we put the whole purchase order into our point of sale system, and then it updates the quantity, lets us know what we have, how many we have of this item, and then as we sell it, it obviously takes it out of stock. So essentially we can log in at any time and see how many of a product we have. Of course, how many products do you say you have in your store?
Right now, I think I have 75.
75. So 75 products. And if I asked you a certain product, more than likely you're going to know roughly how many of those packs you have available.
Yeah, probably.
I have right now like 3,800 SKUs in my POS system. So
Oh.
you could ask me. Actually, I'll probably know quite a few of them, like how many I have, like off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Because if somebody says something about it, I'm like, no, we ordered an extra case of that. Like I keep pretty good tabs on the majority of it,
Yeah.
but it gets hectic.
But to put that into perspective, right? 75 items in my shop for me, that's a lot for a streamer. Generally, I'd say people probably have around 40, 50
Yeah.
maybe. So I try to be around that like 75, 80, under 100, because I think over 100 kind of gets a little crazy.
Yeah.
But I love having options. And so for me, like that's a lot of stuff. Having thousands is like, whoa.
A lot of that is going to be like singles. Every single gets its own
Right.
product ID. We don't post cards that are $10 or less. So it's all like singles that have value and then graded cards and then it's sealed product. It's a lot to manage, but you have to have a system in place. We did have an issue with employee theft. It would be 2 years ago now. And
Really?
that's just a huge mess because
Wow.
when we found out that he was stealing, what do you do? And then when we found out how much he stole, now we turned that over to the police. It became a whole
Right.
thing. That's still in court to this day. It's almost finalized. I had a meeting with them a few months ago, but It's a long drawn out process. So it's something that you would like to avoid.
Yeah.
And we have
Wow.
cameras everywhere. We have an alarm system. We have inventory. There's
So
always,
were they just stealing from you as they were working, or were they coming in after hours?
so
Like,
this particular employee, we didn't have cameras in the stream rooms at the time.
okay,
So they would take boxes turned into cases because you think, oh, I got away with it.
right.
And they would open it in the stream room, throw away all the boxes, all the bulk cards, and then they just leave with the big hit cards out of the cases.
Wow.
Yeah, it was insane.
That's wild.
It was
That's
actually
bold. They're in rip through cases.
the last time that before we confronted him, I went to the Dallas card show. It would have been like March of 2023. And when I left and came back and then saw all the inventory that was manipulated while I was gone, it ended up totaling 17K. It was like six
Oh,
cases of product just in a weekend.
that is wild.
So that's something you got to worry about as well, because
Yeah,
if
for
you're a
sure.
smaller store, 16K could fold
Yeah.
a lot
Oh,
of businesses up.
easily. Wow. There's some shady stuff. There's theft on the streaming side too,
Right.
but it's mainly shady streamers stealing from employees and not employees, customers, not your employees stealing from you.
So that's the other side of that. Besides employee theft, it would be buying product. Every time we buy product, we have to make sure it's not resealed. Some of
That is
the
true.
low end stuff is resealed for whatever reasons. You're always checking the quality, authenticity of your product.
It's scary. I haven't particularly run into too much of that. I always do my best to do my due diligence, but it's like
Yeah.
sometimes you're buying thousands of packs at a time, and there's no way to check every single pack.
Right.
You got to trust the people you're buying from.
Yeah. And we choose reputable. And obviously, if
Yeah.
you're buying something higher end, you're going to look it over a little bit more carefully. But
For
if
sure.
you're buying thousands of packs, some of them might be bad. I don't know if you were in the break when we did an energy break on Evolving Skies booster box, and I had picked it up at the North Dakota card show.
I remember that.
Remember that? And
Yeah.
then the booster box was fake. So he opened up the first couple packs, and the cards don't look real. Like the seals are not real, but the outside, like the wrapper and everything, looked legit. Once I looked at the box closer, I was like, oh yeah, this is 100% not authentic. But I hadn't seen anybody faking something like an Evolving Skies box. So, and it was in an acrylic case when I bought it.
Yeah.
I look at that, and now I got to start checking Modern too, make sure that all this stuff, and I have every box since then. Now you get in that point, we had already sold the breakout, so now you got 8 people in the break, and what do? Obviously, you got to make it right by your customers. I think we ended up doing 45 packs of Evolving Skies instead of the 36. So I was able to get a hold of the guy, and he said he had held it for 2 years. He bought it on Amazon,
Wow.
and they sent a fake box. And I've
Interesting.
actually heard of that a lot. And there's a lot of blatant fake Pokemon
There
postings on
is
Amazon.
There's a lot of stuff that is like very clearly fake. So, as a store owner, how do you deal with that? Somebody comes into the store, they buy a pack or they buy a box or whatever, and turns out to be fake. How do you handle that? Are you just like, oh, refunding you clearly, or let me give you another box?
And I haven't had any issues outside of that. It's more people bringing in cards for trade and
Mm,
having the staff be able to pick out fake cards, because a lot of times they're not going to have the texture that'll be right. And some of the
Right.
fakes are actually really good. They will have texture. You have to compare it to the blue on the back of the card, but then some of the sets, the blue fades a little bit and it just looks a little bit different.
Some of the print
So
runs are just weird.
weird,
Sometimes.
exactly. Obviously, there's only one true way to tell if a card's real, and that's by ripping it in half, and you can see that black film layer that they put in between the paper. So obviously, you're not going to want to rip a card open. I did have a customer bring in a couple hundred cards one time, and I'm like, these are fake. And he's, how can you tell? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I just know because I've done this a lot. Like, I can tell these are fake cards. And then so I was like, okay, I was like, I can show you. We'll take one of your, because it was all like base set stuff.
Okay.
It was like all older vintage. And I'm like, all this is fake. It's all just printed cards. And so then I showed him, I grabbed like a regular base card and ripped it and showed it. I grabbed one of his and showed him. That's how you can tell. I was like, these are just not real. They don't have the qualities of what a normal card would.
Crazy
I actually have a stack of cards for the employees under the counter,
that you can
all
see.
fake, that they can see like examples of fake cards that we've
Probably
found.
smart.
And we've bought in lots before, and then when we go through the lots, you find a fake card or two. Say they were trading with their binders and they bring them to school and they trade a real card for a fake card because they think it looks cooler or whatever
Yeah.
the case is. And then some of them learn from that, and now I know what to look for. Like my daughter specifically, I was like, you keep your collection at home. Like, I don't want you to go trade. Like, you just don't know enough about it. And somebody else
Right.
who their grandma bought them a $15 pack off Amazon that had every shiny card in it. You trade a bigger card for a couple fake cards and your collection goes down pretty fast.
Yeah. I've had a few times where I've bought stuff, like a bigger collection, and then I've looked at them and it looks a little weird. I remember vividly there was a time that I didn't have a whole lot of money that I was like buying inventory with, and I bought some Hidden Fates, and I was very excited to have Hidden Fates.
Yeah.
And it was a bunch of tins or something. So I cracked open the tins and was looking at the packs and I was like, these look really weird. I'm going to torch my whole profit by ripping this one pack, but I'm going to rip it and just make sure. And I ripped it and it was fine. But there's just sometimes
And that was
these just look weird.
Was
And
it
I
the
just don't wanna take the
packaging?
chance. Huh?
Like the packaging was
The
off.
packaging looked weird.
I just bought 40 packs. I think it might have been of Atlanta. And I bought 40 or 50 packs of Hidden Fates and I brought it back and I'm like, man, this is just feels off. I opened up 2 of them to make sure as well.
Yeah,
They
they
looked
just look-
good, but it was just like the
They're just
feel
like a
was
little
off.
weird. I just don't want to take the risk. I think that's something that's big too, is with streaming versus a shop, is if you do sell a fake pack or a resealed pack with a shop, you can handle it. You're face to face, or the person comes, brings it back and this was resealed. You can handle it face to face. And generally speaking, I think people are probably pretty reasonable about the situation. You can make it right. With streaming, you can open a resealed pack that you bought in a giant lot. It's like the single resealed pack that you've ever had. Somebody clips it and it's all over the internet in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And there's no, you can make it completely right to that person and it's totally fine, but that thing's out there.
Yeah.
And it's got a life of its own.
And I know with streaming, if you have a situation like that and you make it right instantly, a lot of these guys where you see, oh, this company scammed and this company scammed and they had a breaker that stole this card or whatever the case is, it's never made right instantly because the
That's
people
true.
that are making the errors are obviously
The ones doing it.
blatantly stealing and no one's there that could make it right, a owner. It's usually like a day or two later. By then it's all over social media. If
Right.
you have something go wrong and somebody steps in and says, let's make this right now, like typically it doesn't get that far where they're going to post you and do all of these.
I think that is probably a good distinction too, is there's a lot of times you see these clips of people who get caught selling resealed packs, and when it happens, they're either act like it didn't happen or like, let's just move on from that. Oh, let me see that. There's some crazy clips out there where it's just like very
100%.
obvious. Oh, you did this. You see somebody who's honest with it. You open a resealed pack, something's weird. Let me refund you right now.
Yeah.
And then let me get you some more packs. Or like with vintage, when I'm opening vintage, you just never know. With
Right.
a lot of that stuff, there's so many variables. It's probably changed hands 50 times in some cases. Who knows? So whenever I'm opening vintage, I'm always like, if there's anything wrong with this pack or anything weird, don't worry about it. I'll refund you immediately. I think there's a certain level of transparency that you really have to give to your customers that makes people feel safe.
Well, you have to offer a place that if someone's going to purchase from you, that they know they're 100% backed. And on our end, when we're buying the stuff, depending on the dollar amount, we're buying from people that are going to back up the product they're selling. And if not, it doesn't matter because ultimately it's your stream, my store. You're going to make it right with the customer because it's your fault.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how it got there. It's definitely your business to make it right. So we talk about all these issues that can arise on our end.
Yep.
Okay. Have you had to deal with any customers scamming you? From a store standpoint, I've
Uh-huh.
got a deal. You take cash, people can bring in fake cash, credit cards, people buying on the website and then charging back and saying that it was the stolen credit card right after it gets delivered. There's hundreds of different scams that you have to protect yourself against. It's with a company like Whatnot. Obviously, they back you through these things. It's part of the fee structure that you pay. And it's nice for us as well when we're streaming on TikTok. We've had some larger orders. As soon as they get delivered, it's marked as not received or credit card fraud or whatever the case may be. And they
Right.
still pay us for that. Have you had to deal personally with any of that yet?
I haven't really. I've been pretty lucky, I feel, where I really haven't had to deal with too much of that. I'm generally pretty safe with my shipping and stuff like that. I just want to make sure that stuff gets there. But I do have a very close friend of mine who dealt with something like that. And he sold a card basically to somebody, got delivered, and they claimed it was a different card that he sent the right one, then had to refund them. The person then was supposed to send the card back, and the guy sent an empty mailer back.
Especially with Whatnot. If
Yeah.
you get an empty mailer, that's when you should be covered for 100%. That's actually what is to me
Uh-huh.
specifically from a few things. Ultimately, it's your word versus the customers in the
Right.
beginning. So I remember I sold Legendary Treasures. It was a pack, went to Canada. The guy gets the pack, and Legendary Treasures, a lot of the packs, the way they were printing them back then, they're almost like see-through, like
Yeah.
the pack art. And he's, this isn't real. I've seen packs, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is real because I had an entire booster box that we opened and it was a booster box fresh pack. We go back and forth and I'm like, fine, send it back. And this was wild. So the whole pack was only like $120 at the time.
Uh-huh.
And so we're waiting. And then when you do a return, we had to supply a shipping label for them. They lived in Canada, so we shipped it to a shipping center. The address was like a shipping center here, and then they shipped it up to Canada to them. And so
Uh-huh.
when we created the return label, it was a US based label. And he's, I live in Canada. I'm like, that's where you shipped it to. So I'm not sure. You have to reach out to the platform and just see what they say. Then we received a overnight FedEx package from Canada. And this was the tracking number that he used to send it back. Up until that point, it's just a normal return. Of course, whenever these people are scamming, they always leave a 1-star review instantly
Yeah.
because they know it hurts a business, like depending on how many reviews you have.
Right.
So that's always their first thing is open a return, leave a 1-star review. That's where they start. And so up until that point, there's nothing we can do about it. It's our word versus his. He sent that mailer back. It was empty. And now I can reach out to the platform and say, hey, they completely scammed me. Not only did they lie about that, they kept it and they sent nothing back.
Yeah.
And then at that point, then the platform sides instantly with you. They're able to remove the review. They're able to get buyer protection to help you
Really help
out.
you out.
Yeah. But before that, it's really, we don't know. Is it
Yeah.
you? Is it them?
It's
What do you
true.
mean? Is it me? How many thousands of transactions am I doing a month? This one time it was me
Yeah, it
actually,
was
but the
me. Yeah.
other 4,985, it was not me, but this one,
Right.
or it was this guy's two purchases. I remember one time we ran like a huge sale on Fusion Strike ETBs. We sent out a couple hundred of them.
Uh-huh.
I want to say it was like Christmas time. We did like a Black Friday special with $25
Yeah.
or less than cost. Nobody wanted it at the time. It was just sitting there.
Yeah.
And I had a guy message back and say, you sent me an opened ETB. And he sends me a picture. He
Perfect.
literally opened all the packs and put them back in the ETB box and took a picture of it. I'm like, no, those are open packs. You have to watch it on all ends, and there's nothing you can really do to fix that as far as on our end. And we're just open to a certain percentage of risk by streaming, and you really just have to have a good customer base that'll back you. What about growth? The differences in growth
Yeah.
between a streamer and a store, you can scale both. You are your brand on the streamer side of it. You
Right.
either need somebody to stream for you to have more stream time to grow.
Streaming, there's both sides. You can have explosive growth You can create content and you can grow exponentially faster
Right.
than a store technically. But you can also do the opposite. I'd say there's a lot more tools to get people to you quicker because you can create a piece of content, it gets 1 million views. Those people can instantly find you, and it doesn't matter where they are in the United States or the world. They can find you, they can purchase from you, and they can watch you. Whereas a store, you can also make a viral video. However, those people have to be close enough to you to come to the store. It can still be super, super helpful. It happens countless times that a business makes like a huge video and they blow up. It can be tough. And content is not easy. It's not an easy thing. You can't just, that was my favorite thing when I used to work in marketing at a company. And our boss would come to us on Monday and be like, we need you to make a viral video. We'd be like, oh, perfect. Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Only one?
Right
Is
up.
that all you want? Or do you need 10?
We'll just make 15.
Cool 20, I guess. We'll just do that.
Yeah. Make
Is
a
10
round
million,
number. Easy.
10 million views enough for each one? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
so that was always the favorite thing. We'd have our marketing huddle and they'd be like, viral video. So we have no budget, no time to film this. And
perfect.
It's not as easy as just make content and it will work. So it's tough to scale, but I will say I think it's probably a little bit easier to gain an audience faster online and as streaming.
And as far as you go by yourself, you can scale your stream to a certain point. You can stream longer hours. You can be busier while you're streaming, have more people watching. Right. Outside of that, once you outgrow that capacity, and then you'd have to add in another streamer to have more streaming times. And
correct.
Or the next logical step for somebody doing it by themselves would be to hire somebody to ship. Then they could stream more hours because instead of shipping, they can be live an extra 3-4 hours, and then they can have somebody ship all that as well. There's definitely a lot of ways to do it. There's definitely potential for exponential growth on both sides. I will say that, like you said, we're locked by our customer base of proximity. So people might drive 30 minutes to go to a store, but you can go online at any time and visit 1,000 online potential stores a second, which then it becomes another thing. It's 1,000 people online. How am I the one they're going to choose? That's a whole nother topic that you could get into. I'm the only store that does sports within a 30-mile radius. So they're either going to go
anything, they're going to come to me.
There's stores that sell Pokemon and other TCGs, but what are they looking for when they search? Are they going to come 30 miles this way? Or are they going to go 30 miles the other way? Depending on where they're at. So you're a little luckier with customers in that sense where they're going to go to the closest place. But when you're online, you have to make yourself more presentable and beat out a certain percentage of other streamers to be the one that people choose.
Right. From what you said, it brings it back to the initial question. Are streams becoming a modern day card shop? Is it harder now for somebody to go out like, I'm going to start a card shop? Should they just start streaming instead?
I think both have ups and downs. We also live in a society that gets more corporate every year, and corporate consolidation, it's the amount of smaller businesses that can thrive in that environment. And I would say card shops are no exception. There are definitely a lot of companies that have multiple card shops already, and they're growing to multiple locations across multiple states. And when you start competing with card shops like that, it's very hard as a independent. You're not going to have what they have to offer. You're not going to have all the capital to buy all the products and all the inventory that they have. And most of the time they're going to have larger stores because they can afford better leases and better spaces. So they're going to have bigger play areas for TCG players. And streaming online, it's really finding your community
for sure,
and it's a lot cheaper, easier on the startup cost. I think as we grow with online platforms having live selling, it will replace stores. Okay, hot take maybe. My initial thought, I've been saying this for 3-4 years now, 2035 there will be pretty much no in-store shopping because it doesn't make sense for businesses. Like even take Walmart, for example. It doesn't make sense for them to buy these large buildings in the most expensive part of town, which is the most convenient to get to. Then they allow customers in and the customers steal, and they allow employees in and the employees steal, and they have all these issues and they have to stock all these shelves and do all these things when customers could just order online and then it gets delivered within 20 minutes to their house.
Right.
Or they come and pick it up. So then they don't have to, they can have a pickup facility. They don't have to be in the best commercial location for that.
Yeah. I
And
haven't gone inside the grocery store in months.
exactly.
We just
And
order it and we go pick it up. It takes so much time to go into the
yeah.
grocery store, and I don't have time. I just go wait 5 minutes and they bring it out to me.
And the convenience, a lot of people order the same stuff. When you go back in, it's like, here's what you've ordered. And you're just like, yep, no, don't need that. Yep, send. Oh, I want to add one thing. Search done. It's so much easier to do stuff like that. And it's a lot less cost on the stores as well. So you'll see in the future a lot less stores, I think, being built out compared to the online shopping, especially with the live online shopping like we do, and a lot of other categories are getting into as well, because right now it's midnight. Most stores are closed, but you can still go online and there's hundreds of people running streams, thousands of people across all the platforms, and you can still pretty much buy
whatever you want,
anything you want.
Yeah.
See it rip live. You're part of a community. You get to know some of the other people in the chat. It's like a friendship bond as well. You get a lot of the same people. I've had people ripping with me ever since we started online streaming that still come into the streams and say hi and chat and hang out most nights. It's really awesome to see that community aspect, which you get that with the store as well. I have had a lot of customers since the beginning, but you're limited by store hours versus their schedule. And, oh, I haven't been able to make it in. I've been so busy. And versus online, it's whenever you're there, it's good to go.
Yeah.
You'll find somebody that fits with your schedule. You have any advice for someone who's starting out from scratch, either a store or a stream? What would you tell them?
In the wise words of a good friend of mine, just crush it.
Just crush it.
No, I think the biggest thing is, and this has been my advice whenever people ask me anything about like content or anything, is just have fun, man. It's tough starting streaming and having the mindset that it's a business. That's a big difference between starting a store and starting streaming. Is people's impression of you is everything when you're live. Whereas a store, people go into a store immediately, they're like, yes, this is a business. But a stream, they don't necessarily think of it as a business. And so if you're not genuinely there because you want to be there, it comes across very clearly. People generally move on pretty fast.
Even if you are there and entertaining, you still 90% of the people that pass through, you have such a small amount of time when you're streaming to pull somebody in.
Yeah, it's really got to be something that you want to do and you want to just do it for fun. I said earlier, I started with just the cards I had and it was like, yeah, sure, I'll try this out. I love creating content. I love streaming anyways, so I might as well do it with this. And
let's give it a shot.
And I loved it.
And obviously now you would say you've been doing this. When was your first stream?
June or July of last year.
June or July of 2024. Okay, so you've been doing this. You're going to be coming up on a year.
Yep.
You know now more than you did when you started the amount of hours that it takes. And you have a pretty good work-life balance. Okay, we're going to end the stream here, and then you do the shipping and you kind of carve time out. But outside of around that time, obviously you know the amount of hours it takes now. And I think that's the biggest advice I would give somebody is you can't go into this just thinking it's just so easy. Oh, I'm going to jump online, then we're good to go. You have to put in the time to get the product. You have to put in the time to stream the product. You got to put in the time to ship all the product. Then you got to start planning for what you're going to do next, how you're going to innovate, how you're going to grow. And that's really
good advice, actually. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that people don't really understand is, and I mean, it's no fault to anybody, but people see people streaming and they just think, oh, you got on at 1 o'clock and you got off at 5 o'clock. You worked for 4 hours and it's done. And
that's not quite done, actually.
Not quite done. Working about 6 times as much.
Yeah. Say you go 1 to 5, you're live, and then you come back at, call it 7, 8 o'clock, and you ship for 2 to 3 hours. Then we jump into Discord, and sometimes we're unwinding and playing a couple video games. We're just conversing about the day, what's going on, upcoming events, and we're scheduling travel and breaks and all these other things that we're working on, and you wake up
Sourcing
and
product
you do it
nonstop.
again. And then how many of your weekends you're going to card shows every weekend?
Single one.
It's a lot. It's really 7 days a week because you're streaming 5 days a week, and then you're trying to get inventory on the weekend. So it's not as easy as you would think. And honestly, that's my day one training to all my streamers. They come in and I said, it is 100% not what you think it is.
Yeah.
This is my advice to them all the time. I know you watch it, you think you know what's going on. It's 100% not that. You're not only all the things we just talked about, but while you're streaming, you're babysitting to make sure somebody doesn't come and say inappropriate things in the chat. You're making sure that you're entertaining the people and you're keeping a good functional flow to the stream, that you don't want it to mess that up, because then it just kills the whole vibe you work so hard to create. There's a lot of things, and then orders coming in and making sure this goes through and this works, and tech difficulties and all these other things. It's really a business of many hats. If you're thinking about doing it, just know it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun. Do what you will with that advice.
Yeah.
All right. We might have a guest next week.
I think we got one.
I
got one in mind.
I like that. I like the secret guest. Sounds good. We'll see everybody in the next one.
Peace, guys.